This happened to me last summer when I was 28. I needed to get away after a bad breakup and some work burnout, so I booked a cheap off-grid cabin on the outer edge of Kodiak Island, Alaska. It's one of those places you reach by a small floatplane or private boat, no roads, no neighbors, just dense forest. Rocky shore, and the cabin owner said bears and eagles were the only company. I flew in on a Thursday. The pilot dropped me off at a tiny gravel beach, handed me the keys, and said he'd be back in 7 days. The cabin was basic: wood stove, solar lights, rainwater collection, a radio that barely picked up anything. First couple days were perfect hiking. Fishing, total silence except for the waves. On night 3, around 2 a.m., I woke up to scratching. Not animal scratching, slow, deliberate, like fingernails dragging across the outside wallboards, circling the cabin. I froze in bed. It stopped after maybe 5 minutes. I told myself it was a bear curious about the smell of food, even though I'd locked everything tight. Next night it came back, but louder scratching turned to knocking, soft at first, then harder on the door. Then a voice, low, muffled through the wood. Alex. Open up, it's cold out here, my full name. No one on that island knew my name except the booking guy, and he was 40 miles away in town. I didn't answer. The voice kept repeating it, calm, patient, like we were old friends. After 20 minutes it stopped. No boat engine, no footsteps leaving, just silence. Morning came. I checked outside, perfect circle of boot prints in the mud around the cabin. Same size as men's size 10 or 11, leading from the tree line to the door and back. No animal tracks. The nearest other cabin was supposedly 8 miles through thick woods. No way anyone hiked that at night without gear or lights. I tried the radio static, tried my satellite phone, no signal, even though it worked the day before. On day 5, the scratching started earlier, around midnight, and this time the voice said things like, "I know what you did last winter," referring to something private from my breakup I never told anyone here. I barricaded the door with a table, sat with the flare gun all night. On the 6th morning, I hiked to the high point hoping for cell. Signal, nothing, but I found something worse. Fresh cigarette butts, Marlboro Reds right at the edge of the clearing. Still warm ash. Someone had been watching me watch for signal. The pilot showed up on schedule day 7. I didn't tell him much, just got on the plane fast. Later, I emailed the owner asking if anyone else had access. He said no one, the island was private, but he sounded weirdly short. Checked reviews, turns out 2 other renters in the past year left early. One claiming someone was living in the woods, owner denied it. I still don't know who or what it was, but sometimes at night I swear, I hear that same calm voice saying my name from outside my apartment window. I'm a marine researcher who specializes in coral bleaching. In 2024, I got funding to survey a tiny, uninhabited atoll in the South Pacific, basically a ring of sand and dying reef, no name on most maps. Part of a restricted zone after old military testing. Access required special permits, and I went alone with a small research boat, planning 3 days of diving and samples. Day 1 was normal. Clear water, dead patches of coral, some weird metallic debris half buried in the sand-old barrels maybe. I set up a small tent on the biggest islet. Night was dead quiet, no birds, no insects, just lapping water. Second night I woke to a low hum, like machinery underwater, vibrating through the sand. Thought it was my generator, but it was off. The hum stopped when I sat up. Went back to sleep uneasy. Next morning I dove the outer reef. At about 40 feet I saw something that didn't belong. A fresh chain link fence section bolted into the coral, like someone had installed it recently. No rust, no growth on it. Floating nearby were empty dive tanks, modern ones, not old military. I surfaced fast, heart pounding. That night, the hum came back, louder, closer to shore. Around 3 a.m., my tent flap unzipped from the outside. I had it tied shut. I grabbed my dive knife and flashlight. Nothing there, just the beam-catching pale footprints in the sand leading from the water to my tent and back. Human feet, no shoes, size maybe 9. The prints were wet, but the tide hadn't come up that high. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I packed to leave early. While loading the boat, I noticed my satellite beacon was missing, ripped off the dash. Radio worked, but only static. Then I saw movement on the far side of the atoll. A small black inflatable boat drifting just outside the reef. No one visible, engine off. It floated there for hours like it was watching. I motored out slow. As I passed the spot, the black boat suddenly started engine. Roar and followed at a distance for about 20 minutes before, peeling off into open ocean. No markings, no flag. Back on the main island, I reported it to authorities. They said no one else had permits for that atoll in years. The fence and tanks? Probably debris, but I checked the coordinates later Google. Earth shows nothing, but one blurry old satellite image from 2023 has what looks like a small camp on the islet. I don't dive alone anymore, and I still hear that underwater hum in my dreams. My fiance and I rented a private island off the Carolinas for our small, wedding-only 15 guests. A house, dock, and beach. It was marketed as exclusive, uninhabited except for staff who leave at night. We arrived by chartered boat. Friday, ceremony Saturday. Everything was perfect until Saturday evening after the reception. Most guests went to bed early. Me and a few friends stayed up by the fire pit. Around 1 a.m., we heard music, faint old jazz coming from the house. We laughed, thought someone left a speaker on. Went inside to check, no music, no radio on. Later, my maid of honor and I walked the beach path back to the guest cabins. We saw a figure standing at the tree line tall, in a dark suit, motionless, watching us. Thought it was a groomsman pulling a prank. Called out, no answer. Figure just turned and walked into the woods. Next morning, we found footprints, dress, shoes leading from the main house into the forest, circling back. No one admitted to it. The caretaker, who lived off-island, came by boat at 9 a.m. to check on us. We asked if anyone else was around. He got pale and said, "The island's been empty since the last. Owners left in '09, but sometimes people say they see the groom." Turns out the island was once owned by a wealthy family. The son got married there in 2008, but the night before the wedding he disappeared, body never found. Officially ruled drowned, but rumors said he was murdered by someone in the wedding party over money. The family sold it cheap after. That night, our last, the jazz music started again louder inside the house. We all gathered in the living room. Footsteps upstairs, slow, pacing. Then a voicemail came over the old intercom system we hadn't even noticed. "Congratulations. She's beautiful. We left at first light. Never went back." Photos from the wedding show something weird in. Hey everyone, it's Mr. Creepy Man. Tonight I have 3 new viewer-submitted stories that I'll take place on isolated islands. Places where you're supposed to feel cut off from the world in a good way, but something else was already there waiting. These are presented as true experiences. If you have your own real scary story, send it to comment section. Let's get into it. Subscribe and send it to yours company.